Well, hello, good morning. Today we are going to be talking about negotiating. Going to up our skills on some negotiations. So let's see if we can get this started. Make sure that this is broadcasting live. Perfect. All good to go. All right. Good morning. So, negotiation. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kimberly Borgens, CEO of Delta Protective Services, or a private security, private investigations business, and the founder of Be a Legacy, where I have the Hive Society. And my goal here is just to give some hints, tips, ideas, things to help make your life a little bit better in business. I know I've had to learn all this information over the past 30 years as a business entrepreneur. And I hope that maybe one tip, one little idea, something can help make you succeed faster. So that's the whole purpose of these lives here. So, pardon me, today I wanted to talk about negotiations. Pardon me. People think negotiation is hard. Oh my gosh, we have to be a negotiator. Look, I'm not asking you, you don't have to be a police negotiator trying to get somebody off a cliff. Okay, that's not what I'm asking you to do. This is not a life or death situation in most cases when you're in business, creating negotiations. And so I really wanted to just talk with you for a minute about like what is negotiation, right? Negotiation really is coming together in agreement, right? It's two parties coming together in agreement that they have the same outcome, they see the same outcome, and they want to move towards that outcome. A lot of times what happens is that we're in negotiations and it's like, I want this and I want this, and it's really about I, and that's why negotiations break down, because we don't get into that space of what that shared vision, what the greater end result looks like. So when it comes to negotiation, you really have to figure out what it is that you want to create. So negotiation, one of the things that I want to say about this is that you make agreements all the time, right? And when you make an agreement and then you don't stick to it, right, then you lose trust. You lose, people wanting to work with you, right? Everybody thinks negotiations are these big things when really it's tiny little things that we're in negotiation with. So, for example, let me tell you, when I was raising my kids, they would tell me like they want to go hang with their friends. They wanted to, go out, go shopping at the mall, whatever the case may be. And I'd say, okay, well, what time are you going to be home? What time are you proposing to be home? Oh, mom, I'll be home at 2 p.m. Okay, great. So we just made an agreement, right? I just made an agreement with my teenager, right? That yes, you can go. What time are you going to be home? It's going to be 2 o'clock. Great. Now we're in alignment, right? We have an agreement. Now, what happens when they get home at 2:30? Do we lose trust that they're going to follow through on their word? And for some people, they're like, "Oh, it's no big deal. They're just a little bit late." Well, look, you're raising young people up to become powerful and successful adults, or just compassionate, caring adults, trustworthy adults, right? So one of the things that I taught my children is look, if you tell me you're going to be home at 2 o'clock, you be home at 2 o'clock, or you renegotiate the agreement, right? If for some reason something comes up, you pick up the phone. Look, my kids, everybody's got cell phones now, so there's no good excuse for this not to happen, right? So, you have to think about it that way is, if you say you're going to be someplace at 2 o'clock, if you're going to meet somebody at a coffee shop and it's casual, right? You're going to meet somebody for a business meeting. If it's a really big deal business meeting and you're running late, you will pick up the phone and you will call them and you will say, hey, my apologies. I got stuck in some traffic. I didn't prepare well. I'm going to be there in 15 minutes. Is that still okay with you? Renegotiation, right? We do the same thing. I did the same thing with my children. I said, if you're going to be home at a specific time, that's great. I trust you, no problem. If something happens, you need to call and renegotiate, right? My kids would call me up and they say, Mom, so-and-so's mom invited me to dinner. Can I stay? That's a renegotiation. There were times when, Mom, we're just doing these things. Can I say a little bit? Nope, I need you home. Like sometimes I can pull the negotiation. It happened very rarely, but it did happen occasionally, right? So you have to renegotiate. Well, in order to renegotiate, first off, you have to know what you're negotiating. So think about in your business, what is it that you want in your business? Right? What is it that you feel is important when you're working with a client, when you're working with, potential prospect, right? When you're working with employees or, subcontractors, vendors, independent contractors, all of these things is you come into an agreement. You both sign an agreement or you shake your hand on it or whatever the case may be, but you have an agreement. That's when, you've made that agreement. Well, in order for you to make that agreement, you negotiated. You talked about what it is. Here's all the things you're going to get. Okay, I agree to all those things, but could you add, this piece to it, right? So, that's all negotiation. And most of the time people think that they don't have negotiation skills, but you've been negotiating for a really long time. Okay. Heck, I negotiated when I got married. Think about it. I've been married for 30 years now, right? And, with that, there was some negotiation that we had to get through. Like, oh, can you put the lid back on that toothpaste? Okay, my husband wasn't like that, but for some of you, that is, right? Don't squeeze the tube. You know what? When you wash your hands with the soap, could you not put that foamy mess all over the counter? Whatever. We've all had them, right? There's a whole bunch of them. And so, you've had those conversations. Hey, can you do this? Yeah, I can do that. No, I don't want to do that. Negotiation. You've been negotiating forever. So stop being afraid to negotiate in your business. Ask for what it is that you want. How can you possibly negotiate if you don't even know what you want? Right? I think that's one of the things that happen with people in business is that somebody will say, no, that doesn't work for me. So I want to do this. And then you're so desperate to just get the sale that you say, okay. We've had that happen, even in the security business. Like we've had clients who are like, no, I don't want to sign your agreement, sign my agreement. And I'm like, no, I don't want to sign your agreement because it doesn't have XYZ in it. And so we'll go into negotiation about it. And so I have an agreement in my business and in my industry. And, this is the agreement. And sometimes I have clients, new potential clients who come along and say, I'm not willing to sign your agreement. I need you to sign my agreement. And I look over their agreement and it's not bad, but it's missing some key pieces that I need in there. And I'm like, well, I'm willing to sign your agreement if you add these as an addendum, right? So if they can add those things as an addendum, then we can, get along. And if they say, well, I can add this and this, but I don't want to add this. Okay. Well, this is in part important to us. What can we do to make sure that we get this, in the process? Or what's your issue with this one? Find out what the issue is, because a lot of times what happens is they think there's an issue because there's a word being used that we each think of words differently, right? And they want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We negotiate back and forth. Finally, we go, okay, here it is. Here's the addendums. Here's what needs to be in place. Everything's good. We're both happy. We sign the agreement. Boom, we move on, right? Including terms of payment. Like a lot of people don't realize, like you leave these open-end payment things. Oh, you can pay me anytime, whenever you get the money, because, da, 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 da. No, don't be that way. You have net 30, right? Like I'm going to send you an invoice and I need you to pay it in 30 days. Or in my coaching business, for example, I don't do coaching if it's not prepaid. I don't. So all my coaching is prepaid. So they can make payments, for the first month, right? And then they have to prepay for the next month, and then they prepay for the next month. Those are my conditions. Now, have I ever shifted those for a specific client who has come in and said, look, Kimberly, I need to do this. I've negotiated. Absolutely. Guess what? I'm the business owner. I can make any changes I want in my business, right? So with that being said, you got to keep that in mind, is like, how can you negotiate these things even with your clients? You have to have, the same vision, the same end result, what it is that you want to create. So think about real quick in your business. What do you want to negotiate? Right? Have you researched it? Have you gotten all the details around that in order for you to negotiate that? Because if you don't know what you want and you don't know what it entails, it makes it a whole lot harder for you to negotiate anything. Know what your priorities are, right? They require compromise on each side. Not everybody's going to get everything they want during a fierce negotiation. But what are those things that, like, there's no way I'm going on without this, right? This I can live without, but this one needs to be in. And if not, stall negotiation, stop negotiation, move on, find a new client, right? You got to consider what their side is, right? Know when to walk away, right? And the other thing is keep your timeline in mind when you're doing this. Is what is the timeline? When do you want to have this negotiation completed by? Now, like I said, it might not seem like a big deal unless you're some big company, but the truth is negotiation skills are happening in your small businesses all the time, right? You want to order something and it's not the exact right color. How can you negotiate for the right color? You're working with a vendor in branding and they present you with something and they say, oh, this is how I want your brand to be. And you go like, hold on, that looks great. And that color just, that's not going to be in my brand, right? I was talking to a friend yesterday who that happened. They created a style sheet for her in branding. And she said, it came back. She's like, Kimberly, I never would touch those colors. So I was like, nope, let's go back to the drawing board. Negotiations. You're getting your newsletters out. Maybe you have a VA helping you and they're talking, but those aren't your words, right? They're using their words. I have a copywriter and God bless her. In the very beginning, they would send me the stuff that they would copyright, pardon me, from my blogs. And I'd go, not my words. Like I'd change it all up to put it into my words to the point until we finally got to the point where she got me, right? She got who I was. She got what my voice needed to sound like. And then she sounds like me now. Right? So negotiation doesn't have to be this big complicated thing. It's really small. Okay. So, prepare for negotiations. Know what it is that you want to accomplish. If you don't know what you want, it's hard to negotiate. Okay. I talked about at the very, very beginning, police officers, they go and they're trying to talk somebody off a cliff per se, right? Side of a bridge. They know what they're trying to do. They know what they want. They want to get that person safely, to a safe space and help them get taken care of. They know what they want. And the other person, they kind of know what they want. But when you're skilled at your negotiations, you can help shift the mind of somebody else for the betterment of all involved, right? So communication is key in negotiation. You've got to communicate. If you don't like something in your business, if you don't like something that somebody's presenting, you do not have to settle. You don't. They might not want to change anything, then go someplace else. There's more people doing similar stuff, right? It's very rare in this day and age that you can't find somebody who's doing something that you want, but no, I want to work with this person. Then give up on what you don't like about it and take what you can. But if it's really something that you don't want to do, then don't do it. Think about for yourself. A lot of times what happens is people are building business in essence, right? We're building businesses with other people's voices in our head telling us what to do, right? Well, I'm only doing this because my mom keeps in my head, well, you're not going to be successful if you don't do this, or whatever, right? That wasn't my mom, but I've heard people say it, right? But I just want to say is you have to know what it is that you want, and you also have to know what it is you don't want. Those are two key pieces in that art of negotiation. So think about in your business. What's something you need to negotiate? What's something that you might want to renegotiate, right? If you're going to be late to a meeting, right? If you're going to be late to a luncheon with a girlfriend, if you're going to have conversations with your kids, with your spouse, right? Get a commitment and then make sure you stick to it. And if not, renegotiate the time. Because I'll call people and like I make appointments with girlfriends to talk on the phone and everything else because we're busy women, right? And so I'll say, hey, we make this appointment like 2 weeks out or a month out, right? So when they get on the phone with me, one of the first things that I say is this still a good time for you? It's a good time for me because I put it away, but it's not always a good time. They're like, oh my gosh, it is a good time, but I only have 30 minutes. Because normally when I talk to my girlfriends, we're about an hour in, right? But I only have about 30 minutes today. Awesome. I can support you with 30 minutes negotiation, right? Find out what that is. Learn to step into it. Be the catalyst of negotiation, right? Like, does it still work for you, right? What time are you going to be home? Okay. And if you're not home, make sure that you call and renegotiate. My son one time was like talking to me. He said he'd be home at a specific time and he wasn't home. And when he got home, he didn't think to call me. It was no big deal in his mind. He didn't think to call me. And so then he got home and I'm like, dude, you made an agreement with me. Well, mom, but no, I'm sorry, but that was important to me. Right. And I'm honest. Look, I'm one of those moms that'll worry 2 minutes after you're late. Right. I want to make sure you're safe. Look, my purpose in life is to make sure that everybody is safe and protected. Well, when you're not communicating with me and you didn't show up to your meeting and you didn't like that goes into my, oh my gosh, are they safe? Are they protected? Right. It goes, that's Kimberly's own, right? So, think about for your kids and your family. If you're late all the time, imagine what family members are feeling. Look, my husband, God bless his soul. When I first met my husband, I went to go meet his parents, his mom, right? And I had talked to her on the phone many times and I told her we'd be there at 3:00. We were there at 3:00, right? We're there, we're knocking on the door, nobody's home, right? This was pre-cell phone, so I'm a little dating myself, but still. So we waited in their driveway. After about 30 minutes, like it was a hot day, we left, went and got something to drink. We came back. We've been sitting there for a little bit. And then finally they showed up. And I'm like, well, where were you guys? They said, well, we went shopping. I said, well, I said I'd be here at 3:00. She says to me, and I'll never forget it. It was just too funny. She says, oh, Kimberly, you have to understand. Lawrence is 2 hours late for everything. We didn't expect you until 5. I was like, what? So I was like, no. So then I started to experience some of that lateness. And I told him, like, that doesn't work for me. I negotiate with him. Right. And then, here we are 30 years married. So we've been together for 35 years. Okay. That was 35 years ago that I had that conversation with his mom. He is now about 10 minutes late to everything instead of 2 hours. But he's not always late because sometimes I do that thing, come on, wives, that thing where we tell them that the meeting is at this time, but it's really at this time so that we make sure that they're on time. I do that occasionally, not all the time, because then he'll be on to me. But it was a negotiation. I'm like, this just doesn't work for me. I can't do this. Be on time means I'm here at least 5-10 minutes early. Occasionally I get off, technology messes with me and I get a little late, on things like that. But my main priority is to be on time. So think about for you, like what is your main priority when it comes to, the skills that you want in your business, the people you want to have, do business with, the contracts you want to get out there. Are you ready to negotiate? Are you willing to look at it and say, what's the research? What is the most common practices around this? Right? What are the things that we need to do? And what's the end result that I want to create? And be willing to walk away. If the negotiation stalls, you can always reconnect and redo it, but be willing to say, no, that doesn't work for me. You know what? That content doesn't work for me. That script doesn't work for me. Those colors, they don't work for me. Right? Like I am not afraid to say that color does not work for me. We just actually over on my private security Facebook page, my, the graphic person was, their branding person was working with the president, and they changed the picture on the Facebook page. And I looked at it, I saw it, and I was like, what? Oh no. Oh no. So I went back to the graphic person. I'm like, hey, can you do this way and let me have a look at that? And much better, quick change out, right? And then I even like put it out as a poll, and everybody confirmed, what my thoughts were. But it's just negotiation. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. We need to do this instead. Can we make this, because this isn't in alignment with who I am or what we've done for the past 30 years in business. And quick change, no problem. A quick renegotiation, right? So don't count yourself out. You can be a negotiator. You can have negotiation skills. You are able and capable of doing it just like anybody else. And start practicing with your family. Start practicing with friends. Commit to something, renegotiate it for whatever reason you're going to be late or you need to shift it or whatever. And then just get into the practice and tell yourself that you can be a great negotiator. Hope that was helpful today. If so, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you took anything from it. And if you did, and you started practicing something, let me know how you use it. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay. Have a great day. Bye-bye.